Today is Wednesday, September 7th. What to know about the UN's latest urgent calls for action over Europe's largest nuclear power plant under siege in Ukraine. Also, why the one-time most dominant e-cigarette company in the country is now paying millions of dollars to dozens of states. Plus, who is saying COVID shots will likely be just like your flu shots? What to expect from Apple's launch event today. And all eyes on the tennis player behind a major upset at the U.S. Open this week as he takes on a new challenge today. Those stories and more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. A new report details the threat at Europe's largest nuclear power plant, caught in the middle of Russia's war in Ukraine. The UN Atomic Watchdog Agency is demanding Ukraine and Russia set up an immediate safe zone around the Zaporizhia plant in southern Ukraine. So that essentially means avoiding any aiming or shelling at the plant. The UN inspectors say the fighting has not yet triggered a nuclear emergency, but it is a constant threat right now and very concerning. The UN Security Council went a step further at an emergency meeting yesterday, saying neither Russia nor Ukraine should have any military presence there at all. Russian forces seized the plant back in March, while Ukrainian engineers are still operating it. And for weeks, explosions and gunfire around the facility have raised fears of a nuclear catastrophe. The fighting has already led to damage at the plant and forced it to be taken off Ukraine's national power grid at times. Remember, Ukraine is already the site of the worst nuclear disaster in human history, Chernobyl. World leaders are urging Ukraine and Russia to reach a ceasefire before Zaporizhia becomes the next catastrophe. By the way, a new American intelligence report found Russia has used up so much of its own weapons that it's now turning to North Korea, hoping that country will help it reload and resupply. All while Ukrainian President Zelensky was looking for more support from the U.S. this week. He rang the opening bell virtually at the New York Stock Exchange yesterday. Zelensky is looking for investors to help Ukraine with its national projects, from national defense to the pharmaceutical industry. Companies like Microsoft and Google's parent company Alphabet have already signed on to the so-called Advantage Ukraine. He's the first public official in more than 100 years to be removed from office under the 14th Amendment, specifically Section 3, which bans insurrectionists from holding office. A judge in New Mexico unseated County Commissioner Coy Griffin for taking part in the January 6th Capitol riot, saying that was an insurrection, and because Griffin participated, he's now barred for life from serving as an elected official, effective immediately. Griffin was convicted earlier this year of trespassing for breaching barricades outside the Capitol building. He's a co-founder of the group Cowboys for Trump and told Fox News Digital this ruling is, quote, further evidence of the blatant tyranny raising its head in our great country. But in the ruling, the judge called it ironic that Griffin wanted the judge to consider the will of the people in the county that elected him after Griffin had joined a mob hoping to overturn what the majority of the people in the country had decided in the presidential election. The decision also grabbed the attention of advocates across the country who think other elected officials who played a role in the Capitol riot should be banned from holding office. Reports say the last time that section of the 14th Amendment was enforced was in 1919. Well, the once dominant e-cigarette company Juul Labs has now agreed to pay close to $500 million in a settlement as it fights to survive in the U.S. The tentative deal would be the end of a 2-year bipartisan investigation into the company's marketing and sales practices by nearly 36 states. But the settlement is not just a payout. It would also restrict the company's marketing in a variety of ways, like it won't be able to use people under the age of 35 in any of its ads. Juul is still not saying it did anything wrong, but that it's just trying to, quote, resolve issues from the past. Still, the legal troubles are not over for Juul just yet. There are 9 other similar cases pending, and on top of that, thousands of lawsuits by individuals, school districts, and local governments have been consolidated into an action still going through the court system. The company is also still waiting to hear from the FDA about whether it would even still be able to sell its products in the U.S. To be continued. The White House now says COVID-19 vaccines will likely become a once-a-year thing, just like yearly flu shots. Dr. Anthony Fauci made the prediction at a White House briefing, saying that's true as long as we don't get hit with some wildly different coronavirus variants. As you know, updated COVID boosters began rolling out this week. And now Fauci, along with the White House's COVID-19 response coordinator, Ashish Jha, say we're moving to the point where a single booster shot should provide most people with enough protection from the virus for a year. Most people, not everybody. Officials do admit that more vulnerable groups, like those with troubled immune systems, might need to get multiple shots a year to stay safe. The CDC believes if the public embraces the COVID boosters early this fall at a rate similar to annual flu shots, it could prevent about 100,000 hospitalizations and 9,000 deaths. Though some experts say that's likely overly optimistic, since more than half of Americans eligible for boosters have not yet gotten their first dose. More news still ahead, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. I know you like to save time and get what you need in one place and fast because you listen to this show. So if you're a business owner and you're hiring and you want to speed up the process, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You can find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. And just like me, I'm sure you'll appreciate a platform that makes completing an important task easier. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you can't afford to overspend on hiring. Visit Indeed.com/newsworthy to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. TSA now confirms it. Travel bounced back big time this Labor Day weekend. TSA says it was the first holiday weekend where the number of people going through airport security checkpoints in the U.S. was higher than before the pandemic. TSA screened 8.7 million travelers from Friday to Monday, topping Labor Day weekend back in 2019. And even though travelers have been seeing higher than normal delays and cancellations throughout the summer, it looks like it wasn't that bad over the long weekend this time. Tracking service FlightAware says the percentage of delays and cancellations was down compared to the 4th of July and Memorial Day weekends this year. So we have a couple of things to tell you about when it comes to cybersecurity. First, the FBI is warning that there may be an uptick in ransomware attacks on schools in the U.S. this year, now that children have returned to class. It comes as one of the largest school districts in the country is dealing with a significant ransomware attack right now. The Los Angeles Unified School District says the attack took the district's website offline, staff and students lost access to email, and the systems used for lessons and attendance went down. It's not clear if any data may have been exposed, but classes did go on as scheduled. The district says there's no concern for student safety, and it is working with law enforcement to investigate. Remember, ransomware attacks use malware to lock up computer networks, then hackers demand money or a ransom to unlock the systems. Ransomware hackers often target computer networks that have essential and sensitive info, making places like schools and healthcare facilities more of a target in recent years. Separately, the IRS is dealing with its own online mishap. The agency says it accidentally posted taxpayer information of 120,000 people on its website. And what was apparently caused by a human coding error wasn't noticed for months. The info included names, contact information, and some financial information, but not social security numbers. The IRS says it's working to notify all taxpayers affected. Instagram has been hit with a $400 million fine. It's one of the biggest fines ever issued under Europe's privacy rules so far. It all centers around a 2-year investigation into how Instagram handles teens' data. Ireland's Data Authority, which enforces privacy rules for the EU, said Instagram displayed teens' personal info like emails and phone numbers. Apparently, some teens were switching to business accounts to see more of the statistics for their posts' popularity, and that led to their contact info becoming public by default. But Instagram's parent company, Meta, which also owns Facebook, says the ruling is focused on old settings that have already been updated. The company said it disagrees with the fine and plans to appeal. Apple is expected to unveil multiple models of its new iPhone today, likely to be called the iPhone 14. It's rumored to have some new features, including an always-on display that allows for quick, glanceable info without ruining battery life, and expect an improved camera. Other products like new Apple Watch models and upgraded AirPods may be coming as well, so stay tuned for all the details. Plus, reports say Apple may release the iPhone's next major version of its software, iOS 16, to everyone. It has new features like the ability to unsend or edit text messages. You can watch the Apple event live stream on its website or YouTube today. And it's also worth noting, Google just announced it'll hold its fall event on October 6th, where the company is likely to launch the Pixel 7 and Pixel Watch. expect to hear the name Frances Tiafoe today. He's competing in the U.S. Open's quarterfinals today as the youngest American man to get this far at the tournament in more than 15 years. And it comes after a major upset on Monday. In a surprise win, Tiafoe ended tennis star Rafael Nadal's 22-match winning streak at Grand Slam events. And his popularity has soared because of his playing and his story. His parents emigrated to the U.S. from Sierra Leone, and his father became a maintenance worker at a public tennis center in Maryland. He and his twin brother had to spend a lot of time there with his dad as a kid, and they thought maybe he would get good enough at tennis to get a college scholarship. Well, now he's in the U.S. Open quarterfinals, hoping to make it to the final on Sunday, so stay tuned. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, a message from our sponsor. At this point in a lot of our lives, trying to fit in one more thing onto our calendars can feel like a game of Battleship or Tetris. And that can be especially true trying to align with your doctor's office. I've experienced it many times. I call to make an appointment, and then it's 3 or more months before I can get in at a time that works for both of us. And now that I have a kid, I have to figure that all out for his appointments too. Well, ZocDoc helps make it easier to find and book an appointment with a doctor that suits your needs and your schedule. And ZocDoc is free. It's a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. I also appreciate that you can read verified patient reviews. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc, so simply go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. So it seems Americans are breaking up with their work friends, or at least making their social life at work less of a priority. The likely reason, of course, is the pandemic. More Americans switched to remote work or switched jobs entirely since COVID hit. A Gallup survey showed 17% of hybrid workers, so both remote and in office, said in June of this year that they had a best friend at work. But that's down from 22% in 2019. Yet the same survey suggests the link between having a best friend at work and staying committed to a job is even stronger now than it was a couple of years ago. So in other words, workers without work friends are more likely to want to quit. Gallup points to the emotional and social support a work friend can offer, and the data suggests that it can actually lead to more productive and fun work. But it's also harder to come by these days. For a lot of people, they don't have the energy or desire to put in that extra effort. Still, the research suggests if you want to make your job feel more satisfying, finding a friend there might be the way to go. Well, thank you so much for joining us today as part of your daily routine, and as always, for supporting us by sharing the show. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Episodes become available by 4 a.m. Until then, have a great day.